Recently, when I rewatched Shrek by complete accident, I discovered something that I hadn't noticed before. Perhaps because I was a kid when I first watched it, I didn't previously notice how well Shrek progresses as a character during the movie, especially in questions regarding how to love yourself or how to accept who you are. These are questions that I think many of you ask throughout your life, and in this video, I want to share how to start loving yourself using Shrek as an example. Shrek's character is defined as someone who is unfriendly to others, rude, and very simple-minded. But it doesn't take long to understand the reasons behind this kind of behavior. Shrek is an ogre, a creature who in every fairy tale is described as a bloodthirsty big monster who eats human meat for breakfast. Throughout his whole life, everyone was afraid of him not because of who he is as a person, but because of how he looks. Shrek realized that it's useless to prove to someone that he is different from the person depicted in fairy tales. So he decides to live his whole life by himself in a swamp where no one can find him and be scared of him. When someone tries to invade his swamp, he shows maximum unfriendliness and acts like the ogre depicted in the fairy tales, trying to scare everyone away, thereby removing any desire they may have to come to him again in the future. It's not hard to understand why Shrek behaves like this and why it's hard for him to find any kind of friends. When questioned about why he protects himself from everyone around him, Shrek replies that the majority judge a book by its cover, without paying attention to what's inside the book. Even though everyone can understand why Shrek behaves like this, was it really the best decision? Is removing any connection to the world the answer to all his problems? Let's find out. It's a common problem in our world, as well as any other, that people struggle to find friends or new connections because of how they look. None of us choose to look the way we do, yet people still judge others based on appearances before discovering the real person inside. Many of you may have noticed that most friend groups, whether men or women, tend to share similar appearances. It's very rare to find a person who is completely different from the majority of their friend group. Most people who are different from the majority are alone. And when you're alone, different thoughts and questions come to mind. Why me? Why do I look like this? Why do I differ from others? All these questions arise as you attempt to find an answer to your loneliness. In this moment, it's very hard to find faith in the world and its fairness. But the worst thing you can do is hide away in your room like Shrek and limit any connection to the world. At the moment, it may seem like your best choice, but that's not true, and I'll explain why a bit later. Shrek could have lived alone in the swamp his whole life, but everything changed one day when he met Donkey. Shrek saved Donkey by scaring off the people who were chasing him as he tried to escape from the marketplace where he was almost sold. Donkey considered Shrek his savior, so due to his loneliness or because he liked Shrek from the first moment, Donkey continued to follow him straight to Shrek's home, despite Shrek's warning to leave him alone and let him go on by himself. Shrek was shocked by how someone wasn't scared of him at all. Although they may seem to have completely different personalities at first glance, they are almost identical in several ways. Shrek differs from everyone in terms of his appearance, while Donkey differs from everyone because of his ability to talk. They both struggle to find their own place in the world because of their uniqueness, so they both end up alone. As in our world, not many people want to be friends with someone who stands out in character or appearances. Despite Shrek's attempts to reject Donkey's friendliness, over time during the movie they become closer and make each other better in their own sense. While you may spend all day thinking about how or where to find friends, opportunities to make friends usually come when you least expect them, and you need to be ready for them. Shrek doesn't seem to have actively sought opportunities to find friends in his life, but this opportunity came to him on its own. Taking Shrek as an example, I can say that what we need the most often comes when we least expect it. Even though Shrek rejects any connections to others, deep down he wanted to find someone similar to him, someone who could see more to him than simply a scary ogre. And when someone like that finally appears, Shrek doesn't believe that someone can appreciate his personality and not be scared off by his appearance. To not be like Shrek, just understand that even if many people don't find you attractive or interesting, it doesn't mean they are right. It usually means that they're not suitable for the majority. But the majority is not the whole world, and there are souls with the same uniqueness who can find your uniqueness cool and will want to be closer to you. Just wait a bit, and you'll find someone like that. Or maybe you already have, but haven't realized it yet. The most important moment in Shrek's development in terms of his self-love and self-confidence comes when Shrek meets Fiona. Ironically, this life-changing meeting only occurs because of his lack of desire to live with other creatures who were sent to his swamp. To remove all the creatures from his swamp, Shrek was ready to do anything. So he agreed to a deal with Lord Farquaad, which involved returning the swamp to Shrek if he brought Princess Fiona from the Dragon Tower to Farquaad. Thus, Shrek embarks on a journey with the goal of reclaiming his swamp. Fiona had waited almost her entire life for someone to rescue her from her tower, imagining a handsome prince who would come on a beautiful stallion and defeat the dragon. When she saw the ogre and Donkey, she was a bit upset, and I can understand why. Initially, she resisted believing that Shrek was her fate and didn't want to go with him. However, Shrek cared only about the swamp, so he simply grabbed and dragged her to the destination place. During their journey back, they had plenty of time to spend together. During this time, Fiona realized that Shrek was not the type of person she had imagined before, just as Shrek realized that Fiona was not the type of person he had imagined her to be. They both liked each other's uniqueness and that they stood out from the majority. Shrek started to develop feelings for Fiona and it was mutual. However, they both refused to take the first step. Shrek due to his lack of faith that someone as beautiful as Fiona could like him, and Fiona due to her secret, which she didn't want to tell anyone. Finally, when Shrek was able to find the strength within himself to express his feelings for Fiona, he accidentally overheard Fiona saying that he cannot be with someone like this, referring to her secret. But Shrek thought that she was actually talking about him, so he decided to give up on his attempts to win her heart and quickly forgot about his feelings. Fiona didn't understand what had happened and was upset with Shrek. When Lord Farquaad came to take Fiona with him and make her his wife, neither Fiona nor Shrek resisted because they both understood it was over between them. However, when Donkey revealed that Fiona was not talking about Shrek and that he had misunderstood everything, Shrek realized it was not too late to change something. With the help of his one and only friend, Shrek interrupts the wedding just before Fiona and Farquaad became engaged. He finally says the words he had wanted to say for a long time and discovers the secret Fiona had been hiding all along. In conclusion, I want to say that Shrek appeared confident on the surface, but deep inside, he was unsure about how he could be loved by someone looking like this. As soon as he found one or two people who found him interesting, his insecurities receded, and he understood that everyone can be loved, even him. So, if you haven't found your Donkey or Fiona yet, don't worry, they'll come when you least expect it, but when you need them the most, just don't reject them.
The end.